Hey guys, hello and welcome to another video. So today we'll look into the Apex class, like how we can call any kind of Apex class from the integration procedure as well as the Omniscript, using which we can like if you are not everything familiar with the DataRaptor, definitely you can use the Apex class, or in some cases if DataRaptor is not good enough to provide you the result, then in that case you can use the Apex class. So for that, let's create a new integration procedure. Let's give it a name, call Apex, and for the type I will write get Apex call. Okay, and I will save this integration procedure. So once this integration procedure is saved, we have to use the remote action, because that is the element which gives us the ability where we can call any kind of Apex class and any method. Okay, so for this to configure, we have to create one Apex class. So let's go to the developer console and we will try to create a new Apex class. So we'll have to create a new, so I'll go to new and the Apex class, and I will write it as call Apex, and I will save it. So let's try to write that code. So it should be global with sharing, so I will write that. It should be global with sharing so that it will follow all the sharing settings. And then after the call Apex, we have to use one interface, and in order to use any interface we will have to implement that. So we will implements. Okay, so we have to implement the inbuilt class of the Vlocity that they have provided. So for that we will have to use the namespace of the package. So it should be implements. Okay, and in order to get the namespace of the package, we have to go to the setup. From the setup, from here we have to find the package, installed packages. So here you will find installed packages. You will have to open this. So here you will find all the packages which you have installed into your org. So we have this OmniStudio package name, so I will click on this. So you can see that our namespace prefix is OmniStudio. So I will copy this from here and I will go back to that developer console. After the implements, we have to use this OmniStudio, and once we will write this and once we will try to save it, you will see that there will be an error message, that is the invalid type OmniStudio. So for this to work, after the OmniStudio, that is the prefix namespace of the package, you have to use dot, and then we have to implement the Vlocity open interface or Vlocity open interface 2. So I will write Vlocity open interface or open interface 2. You can implement any one of these. So once we will implement this particular thing, even after this we will try to save, it will show some other error message. So because we are implementing an interface, we will have to override the existing method that are already present there. So it is saying that if you are implementing this interface, your Apex class should implement this method, that is the boolean OmniStudio Vlocity open interface dot invoke method. so we will have to write that method. So let's write that. It should be global and it should be boolean. The return type here they have mentioned as the boolean, so it should be boolean, and then the method name, that is the invoke method. Okay, if you will write this particular thing, and inside this they have given 4 different parameters, so I will explain all of them. So after this, first of all we have to take the method name, that is the string parameter. Okay, the first parameter is the string, so we'll have to use the string, and it should be the method name. So whatever method we will pass from the integration procedure was the Omniscript, it should be method name. And the second parameter will be the input, and the input will be of type map. Okay, so we'll have to use the map, and it will contain key value. The key will be string. Okay, the key will be string, and the value will be the object, because inside any kind of string we can pass either a single value, we can pass either a list, we can pass either object or anything. So it should be of object type, and this should be the input. So similar thing will happen for the rest of the inputs. So I will copy this, and after the input I have to use the same thing for the output. So the second and third parameter will be the output, and the last parameter will be the options. If you have passed some other options, then you have to accept that thing also. So I will write it as options. Okay, so after implementing all the 4 methods, you will have, this will be a method, so I'll use the curly braces, and at the end you will have to return something. Okay, so for that let's create one variable. I'll name it as result. Result is equal to, so by default let's give it a value as true. Okay, and what we have to do, we'll have to return something. So let's try to return result. Okay, if I'll try to return the result, and if I will try to save, this time it should not give any error. So you can see that there is no error, even in the problems nothing is there. So because it is satisfying all the condition, now the main thing is we have to implement our logic here. So whatever you want to get from this Apex class, we will have to implement this. So this invoke method will be a common method, and we have to pass. So whenever you are calling this Apex from this integration procedure, so you can see that we can pass the remote class, and we have to pass the method. So whenever you will call any of the Apex, so in our case we are calling this particular call Apex, so whenever we will call this, it will directly invoke this particular thing, and as the method name it will pass this remote method. Okay, so first of all we have to check like which method it is. So before returning anything, let's check that. So first of all let's try to use the try catch, so that there will be like no issue with this. Okay, and here we will return the false. If we are getting into any of the exception, we will directly return as the false. Okay, and inside this try catch, let's write our logic. So first of all we will check like what is the method name. So I will write the method name, and either we can write directly is equal to, or we can use the equals ignore case. So in our case we are writing the equals ignore case, so that there will be like no issues. And what kind of method we want, we can write it as get account. Okay, so this is what we are going to pass from this integration procedure as the remote method. So let's write that. So our Apex class will be the call Apex, and our method will be the get account. Okay, so I'll write it here, get account. So because we have already called this, so inside this what we have to do, we have to call the different method here that we will configure so that we can get the details of the account. Okay, and if method name is not equal to the account, then in that, suppose if you are passing if you are calling this same Apex with the multiple methods, okay, in that case what you can do, you can just change the method name and you can implement a different method here, and that will call the different logic. Okay, so I'll tell you that. So before that, writing the if condition, let's write the else part. Inside the else part, what we can do, we can use the output dot put, because output is the map object, so we'll have to use output dot put, and inside this we will write the key value pair. The key will be the result and the value will be, because it is not satisfying any condition, so in our case we will pass a blank. Okay, so it will not have any value. But what if we have some values? So suppose if user is passing as get account, so in that case we will have to write the name, write that method. So I will call that get account, and we have to pass all these parameters. Whatever we have here, we can pass everything there, so except the method name, because method name we have already processed here, so method name is not required. So we can pass the input, we can pass the output, and we can pass the options. Okay, after passing all these required input parameters, what we can do, we'll have to create this particular method. So let's go here and we'll have to create this. So let's write it. Because we don't want to pass anything from here, I will directly write it as this public void with the get account, and it will accept these three parameters. So I will copy it from here, because all the objects will remain the same, so I will just copy these and I will use these things inside this object, inside this method. So first of all, we want to get all the accounts, right? We want to get all the accounts. So what we can do, we can directly write that SOQL. So let's write that with the list of account. We want to get the list of accounts, so I will write it as ACC, and we'll have to query that. So I will write select ID name from account limit. I'll write limit as 5 for now. So based on your requirement, whatever you want, you can pass, you can write it here. And after this, what we'll have to do, we'll have to pass this ACC inside the output. So it should be account, and we'll have to pass. So I'll write it as output dot put, and inside this we will have to write something. So as a key, I will write maybe result for now, and for the value, what we'll have to write, we'll have to write the ACC. So once we will write it, I think this is enough. So once we will execute this, we will get at least some result. So let's go to the preview, and because we don't need any input from here, let's try to execute it. So on the response, we are not getting anything, but from the right hand side, if I'll check the remote action 1, you will see we have one node, that is the result, and inside that result we have one object. So this is one object, Okay, so this result is a list of objects. Okay, and this is one object from here to here, and inside this we have attributes. So because we are basically calling the account object, so it will give us the type and the URL of the account from where we can get the data, and it will get us all the nodes, or the, you can say, the fields which we have queried. So we have queried the ID and the name, so it is returning these two values. Okay, so if you want to basically get the ID and name, in our case, what you can do, after this particular remote action, we can call one DataRaptor transform, and we can transform based on our requirement. So for your satisfaction, let's use one remote action, and inside the remote action we want to pass the values whatever we are getting from this remote action. So let's go to this, and inside this send JSON path. So now if I'll try to query it, it will give us the result in the response. Okay, so this is what we have queried. So we are getting only the limited results, but we have not passed any input to that Apex class. So in that case, if you want to pass some input, we have to go to this remote action, and inside this you will see there is the remote options where we can pass the add new key value pair. We can pass this from here, or we can pass some additional input also. So let's try to pass the maybe the account ID. Okay, so I'll write it as ACC ID, and inside this value I will write the, because it will be like dynamic value, so I will write account ID, so that it will fetch the details of one particular account only. So if I will write this, and if I have to copy this particular thing, and in the preview I'll have to write the key as this, and the value should be equal to any of the account ID. So I'll open any of the account from here. So let's take the maybe Acme record. So this is the particular ID for that account. So I will copy this, and inside this call Apex I will have to pass this as the value. So I will write it as this, and inside this developer console, what we have to modify here, because we are passing that in the input, so we'll have to take that from the input object. So let's get that particular string. So because that is a string, right, so we'll have to use the string. Okay, we'll have to use the string, and that is the ID. So let's take it as AC ID here, AC ID, and we should get it from the input. So let's write that input, not here, it should be input dot get, because this is the map, we'll have to get that, and inside this we'll have to pass the key. So the key is this particular key, ACC ID. So I will write the same thing here. Okay, so once we will try to get this particular thing, it will give us the result. And if you want to basically typecast it, you should do it. So for that we can use the string before this. So whatever result it will get, it will try to typecast that to the string. Okay, because by default it is having the result in the object, so we'll have to typecast that object to the string. So now it should have the value whatever we are passing from there. So we'll have to pass that in the query. So what we can write, from account where the ID of that account should be equal to, we'll have to use this merge, and inside this we'll have to write this AC ID. Okay, so if I will write it like this, it should give us the details of one particular account only. So I will try to save this and I will go back to that integration procedure. Now if I will try to execute, it should return us only one detail. Okay, so now you can see that it is returning the details of that particular record, that is the acme, that is what we have configured. And if you will try to change this value from this input parameter, it will give us a different result. So if I will go to the account and if I will try to query some other account, so I will open this, I will copy this ID, I will go back to that Apex, not that Apex, we should go back to that integration procedure. I will paste it and I will execute it. So once you will execute it, you will see that you are getting the results from that particular account record. Okay, so this is how, so this is the basic explanation, like how you can call any kind of Apex class from the integration procedure, and similar thing will be there from the Omniscripts also. There also you'll have to just drag and drop the remote action, and then you have to use this particular Apex class and the method with the required parameters if you have some parameters. And the similar thing will be there, you will have to use this code and you will have to use your particular method with the required logic, and you will have to put the results of your like whatever response you are getting from here into the output, so that it will be transferred back to that particular integration procedure or the Omniscripts. So I will pin this same code into the maybe the comments, because I think description it will not allow me to put any code, but I will try to pin this into the comments. And yeah, that's it for this video. If you find this video helpful, please like this video and do subscribe to my channel.